welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 12, our second to last episode of Warbreaker. I am Midnight. I am the host of this podcast, and I'm here with Darkness
Hello.
and Mythic.
Hey.
Yeah, and we're well into everything that's going on now. It's getting crazy. So, starting with chapter 51 here. We start with Vasher's point of view. He's with Nightblood, who mentions he was very lonely in the closet, so he's been retrieved from the closet from last episode, where he was Vivenna convinced Vasher to stick him in there. So, yeah, as Vasher's walking around the top of the wall surrounding the court of guards, Nightblood is complaining about the darkness of the closet, saying a person knows when they're in darkness even if they can't see. Vasher pauses.
Do people know they're in darkness though? Darkness? Can you weigh in? Can you weigh in on this?
Oh my gosh. Oh, jeez. Vasher then pauses, unsure of how to respond, just like Darkness. It's unsure of how to respond. Nightblood then says Vasher shouldn't ignore him. He doesn't like it. Nightblood then asks if they're going to kill Lightsong, who he insists is evil, even though he doesn't know him. When Vasher says Nightblood doesn't know what evil is, Nightblood gets quiet. Do you think that Nightblood knows what evil is?
No, because he is evil.
Well, what do you think, Darkness? Does Nightblood know what evil is?
I think Nightblood is in the process of learning, which is normal. You know, it's still a good sword. No, it doesn't.
Definitely evil. Wow. See what he does to people.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
I was just talking about what we have a knowledge of right now, too. But okay.
Okay. Vasher then notes that it takes 1,000 breaths to awaken an object of steel and give it sentience. So we finally get some more information here on Nightblood's creation. So
yeah, he's not even telling anybody. That's the best part.
Yeah, so apparently it takes 1,000 breaths to awaken Nightblood. Shashara had devised the idea but hadn't fully understood the process. He also notes it takes a person of the 9th heightening to awaken stone or steel. Vasher notes, however, that it shouldn't have given Nightblood sentience. Nightblood should not be alive. Do you have any theories on why Nightblood is sentient, and do you think we'll get an answer in this book, considering Vasher doesn't even seem to know?
No. I don't think we're going to get an answer. But...
I think it was part of self-sacrifice. You know?
kind of going on what my theory was, yeah.
I see. So Shashara was apparently the most talented of them, more capable than Vasher, who had used tricks like encasing bones in steel or stone to make his creations. It's also noted that a person named Yestiel had developed Ichor alcohol, and when Shashara awakened the piece of steel and gave it a command, it had taken on immense power and provided a foundation for the personality. The command had been destroy evil, which kind of contradicts what Vasher says in the past. He had kind of said, like, his goal was to protect life, but also destroy evil. But apparently the specific command was destroy evil, which is obviously why Nightblood talks about destroying evil so much.
And he hasn't destroyed himself, which is understandable, but,
but yeah, they thought it had been a perfect and logical choice. However, how was an object of steel so removed from life supposed to understand what evil was? Nightblood then mentions that he's figuring it out and has had lots of practice. Vasher knows that Nightblood is trying its hardest to fulfill its command. Do you have any thoughts on who these people are that Vasher knew in the past? Not thinking about what we learn potentially in future chapters.
I mean, yeah, like...
I had a theory going around that. No?
Oh, yeah?
I had a theory, and I don't remember what it was. Yeah. Like, it wasn't 100% right, I know that, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't 100% wrong either.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed it was like, I'm pretty sure it was when we were still running on the whole Vasher being like a god king thing. And I was thinking it would be like the gods. But like before, maybe they were actually smart and I understood what they were doing, but
they were like not allowed to learn anything.
Yeah, exactly. Weren't allowed to, remember their past.
Because Suzerain is quite smart. He just hasn't been allowed. He's smart, just not well educated.
Yes. Which, I mean, isn't far off from what I just said.
Uh,
Go ahead, Dickness.
yeah. So my theory was that like they're involved with the what is it, the five scholars?
The five scholars, yeah.
Yeah, either they're part of the origin and they're living a really long life, or are their descendants who are like taking on roles for like further development of breath.
Hmm. Well, he does talk about Yestiel, who developed Ichor alcohol, and we know that Ichor alcohol was
Hmm.
developed during the Many War.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
How long ago was the mini war again?
about 300 years.
Yeah, so the fact that these people are that like that he's talking about people that far back kind of goes on my my theory that I had later. So
He
All
told
right.
us book.
um, but yeah, so then Nightblood says that the god in the palace has the power, which talking about Lightstone again, has the power to start a war. Vasher doesn't want the war to start, and thus the god is evil. Nightblood insists Vasher's judgment is the best, and that they should kill the god because the war is bad and he'll start the war. Nightblood
Hmm.
states that Vasher should apologize for locking him in the closet, and Vasher says he won't apologize by killing someone. Uh, and Nightblood says Vasher just needs to throw him in there and see if he's evil. Vasher knows it's a good idea, but says maybe later. Which, I mean, fair. You'll know if he's pure of heart or not if you throw Nightblood in there and he picks it up or not.
hmm I mean,
Nightblood,
if that's true, yeah.
yeah. And as far as we know, that's what Vasher believes. Can't really rely on what Nightblood always says, but Vasher seems to believe that. So, um, where was I at? Vasher where was it? Oh yeah, Nightblood then notes that Vasher is afraid of the return and does not like killing them. Vasher notes internally that Nightblood is wrong. He isn't afraid, but he has too many memories and too much pain. Vasher then goes to the God King's palace, which he notes was originally just a seaside outpost, which is interesting. So apparently, way before the Court of Gods was made and everything, this building is older than it all, and it was like this giant seaside outpost instead. He easily does 3 commands at once, because he's just a frickin' awakening genius, and his rope belt deposits him inside the God King's palace. Nightblood asks about Vivenna and says she doesn't like him, but he likes her because she's nice and pretty. Vasher notes that Nightblood doesn't truly understand those words, but he doesn't lie, so he must like Vivenna, even if he can't explain why that is. Nightblood then notes that Vivenna reminds him of a returned, and Vasher says that makes sense because she's descended from a returned. Vasher then can feel Nightblood thinking. He's thinking on that. Because Nightblood's trying to learn. He's trying his best to
Yeah,
figure out humanity.
he's just a child.
Mm-hmm.
Who is not evil?
He's
He
not
is definitely
evil.
evil.
He's not
Definitely
evil.
evil.
He's the best.
Definitely evil.
uh, Vasher then wanders through the God King's palace, knowing that there have been some changes over time, such as dining halls and garrison rooms being changed into smaller rooms, which is where all like the different colorful furniture generally is. As Vasher tries to find a staircase, Nightblood realizes that Vasher is looking for Ciri. Nightblood suggests Vasher likes Vivenna, and Vasher replies that Ciri is the key to this all somehow. Apparently, that logical leap was too complex for Nightblood, though. Do you
Yeah,
think Vasher's motivations are actually mostly in regards to Ciri being important, or because he likes Vivenna?
I think because he likes Vivenna, but
Mm.
I'm assuming it's a mix, but yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
which one do you think is more important? So,
that he likes Vivenna.
yeah. What do you
I
think, Darkness?
I have to agree with that because in the like previous chapters that we discussed,
Mm-hmm.
when Vivenna asked him to save
Ciri.
Ciri, it felt like he hadn't considered it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's fair. So yeah, so Vasher then spots a maid servant approaching. He captures her and holds Nightblood close and with him slightly pulled out. Feeling guilty, she squirms, but also glad that Nightblood makes her sick. He has her tell him where Ciri is being kept. Vasher then ties the maid up and returns Nightblood to his sheath before running off down the hallway. Nightblood questions Vasher about his actions to the servant, and Vasher responds that he doesn't understand his own morality either, and that Nightblood shouldn't confuse himself. Uh, Vasher then pauses, seeing guards outside of Ciri's room, throws Nightblood to them, and as soon as the sword was out of his hands, Vasher is yanked by an awakened rope. Vasher
Hmm.
fights with the rope and some men as the guards at Ciri's door fight over Nightblood. Vasher ends up killing one of the men before trying to get to Nightblood, but 3 more figures cut him off. Dozens of men are around, and eventually Vasher's wrapped up in awakened rope. And then Denth emerges. Dun dun dun.
Varietralities, yeah.
Yes. Tonkfa is also there, moving down the hallway to Ciri's room. And Vasher spits at Denth twice. Denth tells Vasher he's predictable and it's hard to live as long as they have without falling into patterns. Vasher gets gagged but notes he took down over a dozen soldiers before they had caught him. Denth jokes that no risk is too great for mercenaries as long as the pay is right. Were you expecting Denth and Tonkfa to have been waiting in the palace?
I
Mm, I
I
mean,
figured they
not
would.
really, but
I figured they would be in the palace somewhere. I didn't expect them to like intercept Vasher.
You expect that they would expect Vasher to come for Ciri?
Yeah.
well, I mean, they make it pretty obvious, like why they did that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can agree. I can kind of agree with that. I didn't expect them to be there. I
Yep.
expected them to have
I think,
thought of plans like that, though.
yeah, and I think pretty much very next he says that he's been waiting there for 2 weeks. So pretty much the
Hmm.
whole time Vivenna was training with Vasher, they're just like, there's no point in going to find them. We're just gonna wait here for them because eventually Vivenna's gonna want to get her sister.
Exactly.
So yeah, so Deneth grows serious as he says Vasher is his payment as he owes Vasher for Shashara. Um, and then, as I said, he was waiting for 2 weeks, knowing Vivenna would want to rescue Ciri. Tonkfa then returns, holding Nightblood in a blanket. Deneth tells Tonkfa to throw it away, but Tonkfa says it could be useful, and Deneth quickly snatches the bundle away and smacks Tonkfa. Tells Tonkfa to check on Ciri and clean up the mess. I think he also says he like saved his life or something.
Yeah,
Because I
because I
don't think
mean,
Tonkfa's pure of heart.
no, not at all. I mean, he kills animals. He's obviously not
Tortures them.
pure
He
of
doesn't just
heart.
kill them, he tortures
Yeah,
animals.
exactly. He's obviously not pure of heart. Like,
Um, where was it? And then Vasher hopes that Nightblood will take control of Denth, but Denth is too strong-willed as apparently he's had too much history with Nightblood, as Vasher does. Denth then tells the men to take away Vasher's awakened clothing and hang him in a room. Then states, he and I are going to be having a long talk about what he did to my sister. So were you
yep.
surprised to learn that Denth was Shashara's brother?
Oh, kind of. Yeah. I was like, ooh.
So no wonder he's so pissed. He killed his friend Arsteel
Yeah,
and Shashara,
exactly.
his sister.
I don't know. I think he's more about his sister, but yeah.
Yes.
I'm still running on the theory that he didn't kill him. He didn't kill
I
her.
don't. We still don't know a lot about Arsteel. So.
We
Yep.
don't. All we know is that he was friends with Denth and Vasher, probably Shashara, considering they were brother and sister, and also Shashara and Vasher were friends. And that we know that he was, I think, the best duelist in the group. That's all we really know about him, I believe.
which is saying a lot. So
Do
Yeah.
we know that? Well, we yeah. There's so much I'm trying to figure out because I'm just trying to remember if I'm pretty sure Jules and
Claude?
Tong Fa
Oh,
knew
Tongfa.
Arsteel, right?
You thought Claude was Arsteel, or someone did.
I think
But
Claude is ours too.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, they all knew him, right? In that group.
I think so. Yeah, they knew him. Yeah. Sorry, it's
Hmm.
been a while since we talked with Jules and Tonkfa. I was trying to think back there,
Where
but
are
yes.
they? I haven't seen them like
Well,
this
Tonkfa was
whole
just
year.
here with
Yeah,
Nightblood.
Tongfa was there. Yeah.
Jules and Claude aren't here though.
Yeah. What if they slaughtered them because they let Vivenna escape? Oh,
Could have potentially.
Possibly.
But yeah, so there's another question I was gonna ask. Um, no, so that was my only question there. All right, so that was chapter 51. Lots of information in that chapter about Vasher and
mhm.
Dent's past.
Hmm.
Basher specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, but we also learned that Shashar was Dent's
Yeah.
brother, and it sounds like he's as old as Vasher.
Which jury's still out on how old that is.
So yeah, chapter
That's old
52,
man.
we move into Light Song's point of view. He's in his palace with servants piling up furniture, paintings, vases, and small sculptures. Light Song is drinking, even though he can't get drunk, and he asks Larimar if he ever feels like there is something greater than himself. Larimar replies that he feels that every day, although Light Song can feel his disapproval regarding the piling up of the furniture. Larimar also states that Light Song is part of it, but it is also much larger than him. Once all the furniture is piled up, he sends away the servants and just speaks to Larmar. Lightsong asks Larmar about going to war, and Larmar states he could argue either side. He does state, though, that attacking seems too extreme. When Lightsong asks if Larmar must make the choice, Larmar takes off his ceremonial headgear and speaks to Lightsong as a friend. He states that Idris is a rebel faction that controls the northern passages, but that he doesn't think he can justify the slaughter of the Idrians. Larmar states that he thinks the best course of action is to declare war just to scare them into peace talks and a favorable treaty. Lightsong states it seems reasonable, but that he thinks they're missing something and he wants to find out what. So what do you think about Larmar's
I
thoughts on
wonder
the
what.
war?
I agree with him. I was gonna say, yeah, missing something.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think about Larmar's thoughts on the war?
I mean, I agree, 100%.
I
Armor
think,
seems very smart,
well, knowing, fuck.
knowing what we know now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna like completely separate what we know now and
Yeah.
take in like everything that we know happened before. So, with the way like everyone was acting before, I doubt that they would want to sit by even after declaring war in order to like try and get a peace treaty again.
Mm.
I feel like they would just keep pushing on war even if they tried that.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of war-hungry people, although it seems like there's been a
Hmm.
lot of behind the scenes pushing for that mentality from what
Yeah.
we know, even just
Yeah,
from previous
but
chapters as well as now. Um, but I think from Larmar's point of view, that's probably what he
hmm
considers, yeah, the best point of action, based on not knowing anything about all the people behind everything. Um, so yeah, so we then switch to Ciri's point of view. She apparently is in the bedchamber she normally sleeps in, but Susebron is not with her. She notes that the priests and lifeless are no longer watching her. Instead, it's soldier-like men. She thinks that 6 months cooped up would be terrible, but she'll have to hope in Susebron. That's pretty much all we get from Ciri's point of view there. She's just, well, I'm stuck in this bedchamber for 6 months. Great. I didn't really have any questions. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that quick point of view.
no.
Yeah. We're then back with Lightsong, who is peeking through bushes at Mercy Star's palace. He notes that the moon is almost the exact same position as his last dream. He notes that he has to get to the tunnels and has to know if there was something prophetic about what he'd seen. Lightsong waits until the moon is in the specific position of his dream. He sees a guard patrol approaching and notes that he should have brought a sword, even though Larmar says he can't use one. So yeah, do you think the position
And
of the
Larbar would know.
yeah. Do you think the position of the moon from Lightsong's dream helping him here make you believe his dreams are prophetic? I know last time you guys were kind of getting more into, oh, maybe the dreams
Yep,
are prophetic.
definitely. Yeah, I definitely think they're prophetic. But
I'm gonna be one of those people. I was there from the start. I believed it. You know.
yeah, I know you were there from the start. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
Mythic was very much. I
Yeah.
think Darkness
Typical
from the
kid.
start was more like, oh, it could be a mix of like. I think you were more on the
Memories and like,
memories. Yeah, I think
which
Yeah,
is
both.
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely has some memories, like we learned especially later. Like he
Yeah.
he definitely has some
hmm
memories mixed in. But it's
Da,
also
da, da, da.
it does also seem to be prophecies based on what we'll learn more of
Yep.
later.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Lightsong soon dashes towards the palace once the guards have passed. Larmar curses before following. Lightsong gets into the palace through an open window and then reaches down a hand to help Larmar up. Lightsong then notices some guards inside and decides to walk forward confidently. The guards tell him to stop, and Lightsong asks if they dare command a god. One of the guards then runs off. The other one's just like watching, like, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
He's like, I literally can't do anything here.
why did you leave me here? I can't do anything.
But yeah, so Lightsong gets to the trap door, opens the door, and they both climb down, and the guard watches in concern. Lightsong feels something living through one of the walls with his life sense and finds a small tunnel in the wall. They both crawl through the hole before getting into a larger tunnel. He also throws a lever to close a grate over the tunnel they just came through. Lightsong decides not to follow the path to the life sense just yet. Instead, he notes the path to the left goes straight to the lifeless barracks. There's a trapdoor into each of the 4 warehouses, and these tunnels are newer, whereas the next tunnels he finds to the different palaces are much older. They then move towards the life sense, which seems to lead toward the God King's palace. Lightsong then overhears people speaking about the princess's sister and not to underestimate Vasher. The one voice
Mm-hmm.
then says to the other voice, who we learn is Denth, that he is strange for wanting to kill Vasher, even though he states he has done more good than the first man can appreciate. What are your thoughts on Denth praising Vasher even though he hates him?
I mean, he obviously has some kind of an admiration for him.
Yeah, kind of makes sense. Cause even though he's a mercenary and like has done so much shit, you know, he seems to not always be on that like dark like bad side.
Well, it seems like they were definitely friends in the past as well.
Yeah.
So obviously there was like some Dent saw good in Vasher before Vasher started killing his friends, I guess, and sister.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and after the voices fade away, Lightsong goes back to speak to Larmar and explain what he heard. He's interrupted though by Blushweaver screaming to be let go and crying out in pain. Lightsong charges down the tunnel, which goes from rock to stone floor. Blushweaver is tied to a chair, and men wearing the God King's priest robes stand around with soldiers. Blushweaver is crying, has a bleeding lip, and is gagged. When you first read this, were you surprised to see Blushweaver captured and like beaten slightly?
Yes, because I thought she was a part of it, and I wasn't wrong. So,
What did you think, Darkness?
Um, I didn't expect it, right? But when I read it, I was like, "Fuck, I know what's happening." You know,
Did you know what was happening?
I figured it did go the way I thought.
So, and then we see Lightsong knocks over one soldier and takes his sword, which he has stated in the past he
yeah.
thinks he's like, if I ever get my hands on a sword, I bet I'm like an amazing duelist. And
Yep.
he
And
completely misses and fumbles trying to attack
yep.
someone with this sword. Yeah, he is then stabbed in the thigh by one of the soldiers, and Larmar tries to tackle a guard. Poor Larmar, I don't think he has any fighting skills either. He's like, just like, fuck it, like tries to tackle a guy. But the soldier is able to step away, and another guard holds a blade to Lightsong's throat. Lightsong notes that this does not go as he had planned. Were you
Mm-hmm.
surprised by how bad Lightsong was with the sword?
Not at all. Not at all.
You didn't believe him when you thought he'd be good with a sword?
No, I didn't think he'd be that good with the sword.
Were you surprised, Darkness? Do you think he'd be better with a sword?
I thought he would have been at least decent.
He was so bad. But yeah, so then we go to Vivenna's POV for the next chapter, chapter 53. Venna is pacing the room that her and Vasher were currently renting, waiting for Vasher to return. She notes how he was only supposed to be on a scouting mission, and she feels more worried for him than she had felt for Denth, even believing her and Denth had been friends. And that's kind of it for her point of view there. She's pacing. She's like, "Where is he? He's not here back yet." And then we get Ciri's point of view, and she's woken up by shouting and fighting. Suddenly her door opens and Trelades waves for her to quickly follow him. She backs away and his guards grab her and she screams for help. Trelades calls her a fool and says he's trying to help her, which Ciri does not believe. There are bodies on the ground and others with gray skin. She hears fighting further away and shouts towards that direction. When you first read this chapter, or this part of this chapter, were you concerned about Trelades coming and like grabbing her?
I was concerned about anyone trying trying to seem like they were trying to help her.
Yeah, I mean, still was. I'm pretty sure I was still running on the whole that they were bad people.
You
Yeah.
just thought the priests were all bad?
Yep. I mean, they took her away from my point of view. But,
Yeah, well, I know last episode Darkness was starting to lean more towards the Pankal people being the
Hmm.
well, yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah.
guys.
But the thing is, like, I even leaned to that too.
Mhm.
But I didn't expect there could be multiple bad people. All right,
It's
That's what I
true.
was thinking.
It's
Like,
true.
I,
yeah,
I, I didn't just dismiss the fact that they could still be bad.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, they obviously could still be a bad faction. That's there. It's just the worst one is Pankal.
Hmm.
Like, they have their own things they have to do. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that gets changed a little later, but you know,
Yep.
Uh-huh.
that theory,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah. So then we get to our new main character, old chaps.
Yeah. So he's the best main character. Like
Obviously.
I say, like he is the greatest, and I hope we see him so much more.
I know, right? We're gonna see so much of old chaps, right, Darkness?
Yeah, we get to see him until like we get to see him live his whole life.
Yeah.
He's the
Until
only point of
it's.
view we're ever gonna get again.
Yeah.
So yes, we get old chaps. He's in a little boat fishing at night, so he won't have to pay a fee because no one could see him fishing. Because normally, I guess you have to pay a fee to go out fishing in the bay. Apparently, he sometimes tosses bodies into the bay, weighed down by rocks that the slumlords
Mhm.
give to him. He imagines them dancing, tied by their feet in the bottom of the bay, all just hanging out together, having a little party. But he had no bodies tonight, so instead he's fishing. What were your initial thoughts of old chaps based on his things he does for a living?
Greatest main character ever.
Hell yeah.
That's it. Okay.
Yep. That's it.
All right.
I
He
mean,
should have been God
I
King.
mean, in all honesty, there's not a lot to go on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the greatest person. He throws
No.
bodies into the bay. Um.
I mean, everybody's got to have a living, you know.
But yeah, then old chaps hears a voice saying, "A little more to your right." He notes that the sea talks to him sometimes, so I don't know about
Crazy
that.
man. Yep, he's crazy.
And he happily does as he's told, dropping his net as instructed by the voice. His net catches something heavy, and he pulls it up and uh lets out a bit of light from his lantern and sees a sword, silvery with a black handle. The sword says he hates the water and asks if old chaps wants to destroy some evil. Says he doesn't know what it means, but will trust old chaps to decide. Old chap smiles, and Nightblood notes that he can be admired a little longer, but they really need to get back to shore. Uh, do you think Nightblood did good getting old chaps to fish him up? Are you proud of Nightblood?
Yeah.
Yep. Like I was telling you before, I think this isn't an old chap's point of view. It's more of a Nightblood point of view. But
I mean, we get it from it's a
I
Nightblood
yeah,
section, but it's from
but
old chaps'
but
point of view.
but I'm pretty sure Nightblood's the main character in this thing. Okay. Old chaps is just a supporting role.
He really
Old
likes
chap is
Nightblood.
literally.
It's admiring
Oh,
him.
Yeah. So does every other person before they get it rammed through their
what
sternum.
do you mean? Oh, we know old chap becomes the new God King. Yeah.
I mean, Vivetta doesn't really like Nightblood. She gets sick. She's not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why. Probably because she's not evil.
Maybe she's just really evil.
Would you trust old chaps to decide what
No,
evil is?
no.
I mean, Nightblood does.
Nightblood trusts everyone. He's a child.
It's a child. A child that likes murder.
It
Murder.
sounds like my future child.
I'd be scared to see Darkness as a father.
Wow, that was about to make a really weird turn.
Was it?
In my head, yeah, because you said I would hate to have, and then stopped, and all my head was going was have Darkness as child.
No.
What? I was
No.
thinking she was gonna say I would hate to have a child like that.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
Darkness is child, huh? Man.
Anyways,
Let's go on an hour tangent about
Okay.
Darkness is child.
No, we're good.
Is it like Destiny's Child?
Oh my gosh. So we then go to Vasher's point of view. He wakes up tied by his wrist to a hook in the ceiling of a stone room. The rope that he's hanging from is drained of color, the same rope he'd used on the maid earlier. Everything was gray except for his white underwear, which is the only thing he's wearing. He's also used all of his breath, so he has no breath, there's no color, and he's tied from his wrist to the ceiling. Dent is standing in a corner next to a lantern. He says he owes Vasher for Arsteel's death and asks how he killed him. Vasher insists it was a duel, and then suggests he stabbed him from behind, causing Dent to backhand Vasher and say Arsteel was a good man.
No, he wasn't.
Hmm?
And then Vasher says no, he wasn't.
Yeah. And then they say once they were all good men, Dent replies that he is what Vasher made him. Vasher then brings up Vivenna, and Dent said she was supposed to like him, and things got out of hand when Parlin died. Vasher says things always get out of hand when it comes to Dent, which causes Dent to say Vasher started a war, slaughtered tens of thousands, betrayed his closest friend, and killed the woman who loved him.
And this is where I believe my theory came in.
So what are your...
I was like...
So first of all, what are your thoughts on the crimes Dent accuses Vasher of?
Well, I mean, it still goes into my theory.
Yeah.
But I believe that this man is Khalad.
You believe Vasher is Khaled the Usurper?
Yes, I 100% believe it because I started thinking about it even more now as you started talking about the chapter again. Before he apparently says something about it taking like 1,000 breaths to bring back what was it, stone and metal.
It was 1,000 breaths to awaken steel, which Nightblood is.
I,
So it took 1,000 breaths to awaken Nightblood.
okay, but I'm pretty sure you stated it earlier. Something
Is someone
about
of
stone and metal.
Yeah,
the
the
ninth
ninth
heightening?
awakened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
Ninth
awaken stone
heightening.
and steel.
Okay.
So you have to be at the ninth heightening
Okay.
to awaken stone and steel, and
Okay.
I
So
think Vasher
here's my
also
next.
created creatures of bones encased in stone and steel. He says at some point.
Uh, so here's the thing that I started thinking about when that came across.
Mhm.
First off, stone is not alive.
Yeah,
So
but bones
how
are.
do you? Yeah. So how would you? Well, yeah, but the
Oh, I
thing
see. I
is,
see.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Metal, and stone are not alive.
Yes.
We've already got to the point where Vivenna has deduced that you cannot put breath into metal, and you if because it's not alive. So I would assume the same thing would be for stone. It's not alive, so you can't put breath into it.
Yes.
Have we? I don't remember. I want to go back. This is what I wanted to do earlier, and I never did it. I wanted to go back when they were talking about Kalad's phantoms.
Hmm.
How did they? What did they say? I
They
feel
called
like
them a
they said something.
different type of lifeless.
Yeah. So I'm trying to put the pieces together because I don't remember exactly what I was thinking before when he said stone, and then something was ringing to me about the bones that he was talking about, like when you could bring back skeletons if you put all the bones in the
Yeah, it was
right
a lot of
order.
work and it was a lot of breaths to do that. He said it
Uh,
works better when they're encased in flesh because like the bones by themselves, you'd have to like I think basically like
mhm.
awaken each bone and have them kind of like stick together or
So
something.
to awaken stone or metal, in my opinion, like you would have to encase, like if you encased bones in that, could it work the same way?
The same as like flesh, you mean? Being the
Yeah,
bones.
like
I mean, it sounds like
then you could
Vasher said
move.
he did that. He said earlier in what was it, chapter 51, that he had creatures made of. He did the creatures that were bones encased in stone and steel.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that if because Vasher said, I didn't even remember Vasher saying that, to be honest. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why I got this whole thought. I don't know.
probably. Where was
Uh,
it? Uh, yeah. So it says pretty much at the start of chapter 51. It says Shashar was the most talented, more capable than Vasher, who had instead used tricks like encasing bones in steel or stone to make his creations.
yeah, okay. So my thought here, and I mean it's kind of in my opinion, it's an out there thought.
Hmm.
What if, because they're different, what if Kalad's phantoms are actually kind of like those the stone army, like the Chinese stone army
Hmm.
thing
Yeah.
with the big statues? What if it's that? That's why
Mm.
they're so good. Like they're such like a better breed of things. Because I mean, even in today's society, people are still looking for that, like those statues and stuff like that. Like they found a bunch of them, but like they're stated that there's probably so many more. So what
Hmm.
if that's the thought, that's the like what's the word, that's where Sanderson got it from. Like that's
Mm.
his.
the
He
thought
does take a
process.
lot of ideas from like other cultures and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'm just thinking Kalad's phantoms are probably like that, and then that leads me into believing, because Vasher said that he's done it, that maybe he is Kalad.
Mm. Who was also named, we learned from Hoyd, Strife Lover, and was a returned.
Yes.
His return name was Strife Lover.
Yeah. So there's the other part. Maybe he is an actual returned.
I mean,
You're the God King.
you've got to at least have enough breath to be ageless if he is that old, if not a
Yeah.
returned.
Exactly.
But then he would also
Yeah.
need if he is a returned, he would need a breath a week.
Maybe
But
he
what if
does
he
get a breath a week
unreturned
though.
himself?
Wait, do you say darkness?
I said, what if he unreturned himself?
Unreturned. I mean, we don't know that it's a thing you can do.
I mean, kind of. I mean, we don't know for certain now, but maybe we kind of get a little bit on something later.
Mm.
We also
Which
no.
also makes me even more believe that technically He could have been a god king.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like at some point, both him and Shashara were at least of the 9th heightening, which is 4 heightenings higher than what normal returned are, because they were both able to awaken steel and stone.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine the amount of breath you need to make like an army of that.
Need a lot.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, if it was 1,000 to bring Nightblood to life, even if we go by that, I mean, like, that's a lot of
I mean,
That's a lot of thousands.
you need 20,000 just to be of the 9th heightening. Then you also need the breaths to awaken things.
Yep. Somebody
Also,
has like hundreds of thousands.
think of an army full of Nightbloods.
Damn.
I mean,
I mean, that's what I think we get to either later in this chapter or next point of view with them. Is he kind of says like she had to die.
Yep.
mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, because she knew about it. Yeah, because
he's like, we can't have an army of Nightbloods being held by all these lifeless, because that was when also the lifeless got their like one breath thing.
Yep. Yeah, something else she did. So.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, so Vasher has no response. He believes Shashara needed to die. Oh yeah, it was right after. As she had shared the commands to make lifeless from a single breath, and he worried that she would reveal the way to awaken steel like Nightblood, and how that would have affected the many war. So yeah, they basically just reveals right here, like, yes, we were around at the time of the many war, so he's minimum 300 years old.
Yep.
In returned years, not just if he is returned. And then, yeah, he knows none of that matters to the man who'd seen his sister murdered. Plus, Vasher had created his own monsters. And we kind of already had, I don't think I really need to go into this question because we kind of already discussed it, but I was going to say, what do you think the monsters Vasher created are? Which mythic things.
Phantoms.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts other than that, Darkness?
No, cool.
No, you also believe
Basher's
this?
Phantoms.
That seems valid.
Yep, Basher's Phantoms.
Strife Lovers Phantoms.
Nope. Basher. Better name.
Or Tax. He also went by Tax, remember?
Ooh,
Tax
Taxes Phantoms. They're the tax collectors, guys.
Oh no.
That would be such a funny army name.
An army of the tax collectors. Oh my gosh. So yeah,
Well, we know who.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say we know who Midnight's gonna be evading.
Oh gosh.
Yep, because Midnight evades taxes.
I don't
for
evade
sure.
taxes.
Yep, tax
Oh
evasion.
my gosh, I don't. Denthin says he's been able to keep Tonkfa to just hurting animals. So apparently, I guess Tonkfa does want. I mean, he did torture Parlin, but apparently he's been wanting to torture people for a while. And he wonders what he finds so enjoyable about causing pain as he, I think, grabs a knife and that point of view ends. We switch back to Vivenna, who has been unable to sleep and dawn was approaching. She notes that she's been failing at everything lately, and before she left Idris she had never failed. Vivenna goes over to Vasher's pack, puts on his tasseled overshirt and leggings and cloak. She then uses the commands Vasher used previously on his clothing. Before she leaves, she ties the sword on. When you first read this, did you think the commands would work for her?
Yes, because she's amazing.
What did you think, Darkness? Did you think the commands were going to work?
I thought there was gonna be like a fizzle here and there, you know.
Nah, Vivenna's a prodigy.
So yeah, that was that point of view. Just another quick Vivenna one. We then have Lightsong's point of view. Blushweaver is crying and saying she had the God King's priests on her side, so she was apparently working with Trellides and the others. She notes that her getting the command phrases were something her and the priest had worked on together. Lightsong then turns to Larimar and asks for something to pick the lock with so he can try it. And Larimar begins bellowing, saying Lightsong had been a scribe, not a soldier, detective, or thief. He was an accountant for a local moneylender. He asks if Lightsong ever stops to think if he's being a fool or not, because the answer is usually yes, and Larimar gets in trouble with him. So, what did you think of Larimar's outburst here, and are you surprised to learn Lightsong was a scribe of all things?
Second part, yes, but the first part, yeah, I mean, I assumed he was gonna crack it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of has a point,
He
because
does. Lightsong is a fool.
like Tongue didn't even consider, like
That he's a
Larmar.
fool.
No, it's just Larmar's life in general.
Yeah, he brought Larmar into all this, and then now they're like locked in cages. Blushweaver's been like beaten and crying, and
It's okay. It's okay. Blushweaver will get free soon, right?
oh yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
So one of the priests then comes over and asks for Lightsong's command phrase, which Lightsong says he forgot. They pull Blushweaver out of her cage and slit her throat, and her biochrema fades. Were you shocked to see them kill Blushweaver so suddenly and quickly?
Honestly, yes.
Like, it's just a sudden, like, okay, slit her throat. Now will you work with us? It's like, holy
I
shit.
was disappointed because of how much breath was lost. But yeah,
Yeah, it's just gone.
But is
yep.
it really lost though? Matter is never destroyed.
We don't know. We don't know where breaths go once a
Yeah, I
person
was like,
dies.
I'm hoping it goes into Lightsong and he just breaks free like some god.
So then the priest then asks for Lightsong's command phrase again. When Lightsong refuses, they move towards Larmar's cage. They pull Larmar from his cage and hold a knife to his throat, and Lightsong gives his command phrase to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yup. Poor Lightsong. He was not expecting this in any way. Definitely did not go to plan.
Not at all.
Um, so yeah, chapter 54. We start with Vivenna's point of view. She's speaking to Tuft, a beggar who has only one eye. He claims Vivenna was a plant, and Ravenna replies that she was determined to see how the people in the area really lived. She then places a colorful handkerchief in his cup for him to sell and asks for information regarding out of the ordinary disturbances involving awakeners. Tuft tells her to go to the third dock slums. And then we have Vasher's point of view. He's still hanging, with cuts that have apparently been drenched in lemon juice, which that sounds horrible.
Very
to
horrible.
you.
And he notes that there is still a good man somewhere in Denth. He tells Denth that torturing him won't bring her back, and Denth agrees as he picks up another knife. And then Ciri's point of view. Just really short points of view here, going back and forth. Ciri notes that a third force is attacking the palace, and she believes that they want to free her. She is then led to a room where Susebron is, although he's held back from going to her, which he's like confused by, and she's like, oh yeah, they're not holding anything back anymore, because they're like holding onto his arm, and he's like, what the fuck? Because they don't touch him normally. Ciri demands answers from Trelides, who tells her he doesn't know who these invaders are, and then Bluefingers arrives, saying the East Wing has fallen and reinforcements aren't coming. He gives a covert nod to Ciri when she tries to get his attention and suggests escaping through the tunnels. When you first read this, were you happy to see Bluefingers there?
Nope.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, like the moment he shows up, I was like, all right, yeah, no. Every fiber of my being was like, yep, this is definitely a pun call thing.
Yeah. So Trelides then takes a sword and tells the sword just to go with Bluefingers, the God King and Ciri, to the docks. Susebron is allowed free to approach Ciri, and Ciri has a feeling that something is wrong. As Ciri and Susebron are led away with Bluefingers, she thinks back to Lightsong's words about being seen as average, and realizes who the third force must be. She confronts Bluefingers, asking how it
And
must feel to... Hmm?
and then Bluefingers runs away.
Yeah. So yeah,
It's my favorite part.
she asked how it must feel to be assumed to be a Halandran when the Pancal had been here first. So basically, the Pancal are like basically like Native Americans,
Mm-hmm.
and all the Halandra are like the European freaking conquerors that came over. So yeah, they aren't allowed a
Pretty good.
military and are second-class citizens. Bluefingers runs away, and Ciri tells Trelides that Bluefingers was going to lead them into a trap, and that Susebron was right to trust his priests. Trelides suggests going to the front gates instead. So what are you going to say there, Mythic?
No, yeah, that's pretty much how it is. That's a good analogy. That they're like the Native Americans, except for the fact that the Native Americans didn't really have a uh, genuinely good revolt. So
Yeah. So yeah, Darkness's thoughts here were right. We finally got it revealed. The Pancall are behind
mm-hmm.
this all. Their whole plan was to get Halandrin and Idris to go to war,
Evil
because
monk.
they don't have their own military. They're not allowed one. Were you happy to finally get confirmation you were right, Darkness?
Yes.
You feel good
I
about
was
that?
so happy because I was like, for once, I'm not wrong.
You said it, not me.
So we then go back to Vivenna's point of view. She's at the Third Dock slums and notices people talking about spirits and death and ghosts from the sea. She then hears Nightblood calling for her to come get him. She finds Nightblood in a room with 4 dead bodies. Nightblood is happy to see her and says he tried to get the men to bring him to the Court of Gods, but it didn't work well. He continues to ask if he did well and says Varatrelides threw him into the ocean, but he got back out. He also says he thinks Vasher is hurt. Vivenna asks where Vasher is and learns that he went after Ciri, but Denth, Shashara's brother, threw him into the water. Threw Nightblood into the water, specifically, not Vasher. She then grabs a dirty blanket and wraps around Nightblood and heads for the Court of Gods. Are you sad that Old Chaps is dead after our one point of
Nope.
view with him?
Nope, not at all. Like I said, it was definitely a Nightblood chapter, not a.
What did you think, Darkness? Were you sad that Old Chaps barely got any screen time there? Dead so quickly.
Yeah, I felt like he had really good, like, potential. Could have been the God King.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
could
Could have
have
been.
been the next God King. Like, wouldn't that have been great?
No, the next God King is a child.
Imagine if Old Chaps became a returned. Nightblood kills him, Ciri pulls, or not Ciri, Vivenna pulls him out, and then he returns, and it's like, oh. Well then. His name will be Fishmonger.
Oh
Fishmonger
God.
the Corrupt.
I
Oh,
mean, oh wait, technically, because we did kind of past it,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. Scoot did tell us how uh, Lightsong died.
Did he there? I thought he tells him later.
Are you sure?
I thought he.
He
I
tells him at
thought
the
he's
end of this chapter. I'm pretty sure in the next point of view it's Light
was
Songs,
it.
and I think he
Oh,
tells him
okay. Was
here.
it the end of? Okay, was it the end of this chapter? Okay.
Yeah,
I
Like I
he
said,
tells him
I
here.
I didn't reread, so I don't
I
remember.
mean,
I just remember that
Yeah,
being
it's,
a
it's
thing.
it's really this next part. I see it in my notes right here. This is where he
Okay.
says how Light Song dies. So we go back to Light Song's point of view. Light Song is staring at Blushweaver's body, and Larimar apologizes for yelling at him. Light Song says that neither him nor Blushweaver were gods, and he says people should have seen the truth about him. Larimar then tells Light Song that they were brothers and one of the best men he had ever known. Larimar had been a priest working at the palace of Kindwinds the Honest, who lied and played political games. His faith had waned, and then Lightsong died rescuing Larimar's daughter, Lightsong's favorite niece, which I guess means Larimar has multiple daughters, or maybe they have another sibling. I don't know. But anyways, Lightsong returned, and Larimar's faith returned as well. He also reveals Lightsong's old name was Stenimar, and says no matter what, Lightsong is a god to him. Do you have any
So
Sorry, I was going to say, do you have
I
any thoughts on
find
finally
it
knowing the
funny.
truth of Lightsong, aka Stenimar's past?
I find it funny that it's Larmar and Stenemar.
You like the names?
Like he definitely thought that one through.
yep.
I mean, their parents maybe weren't the most original. Or maybe like the Imar part is like a family thing.
Maybe Stenemar and Larimar.
Mm.
But yeah, no. I was kind of surprised to find that it wasn't complete BS that they returned from courageous acts.
Yeah, so he actually was courageous. He apparently
Hmm.
saved Larimar's daughter,
What was Blushweaver's title?
Blushweaver the Honest.
Let's remember
Honest.
that.
So she died honestly.
Yes. There actually is. I'd have to find them, but there actually are notes from Brandon, which because it's not in the book, but he does say like I believe Blushweaver technically originally died like exposing some corruption. I don't remember the exact
Ah,
details, but that's
That would
how.
make
But she was like executed for by these people or like they're friends of them or something. But she exposed like some criminals, and that's how she became Blushweaver the Honest.
gotcha.
Yeah.
who chooses the title.
I mean the honest or the brave are based on how they died. I don't know how their actual name though is created, like the Blushweaver or Lightsong part.
Do we get to know about anybody else's way they died, or is it
I think
only
it's
shown
just
for
those
her?
two
Okay,
are the ones we get to know.
all right. Because the only other one I was wondering about was the child, like the kid person.
Hope Finder?
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Well, what was his title? Hope Finder. Hope Finder. God of Innocence and Beauty. So
Oh,
I think because he returned as a toddler, so I think they just gave him the God of Innocence.
Hmm.
So he didn't really get like a
Yeah,
proper.
but like that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so
He
they
died
return.
innocently. That
Yeah,
was
how did
his.
they? But I don't understand. How does a baby come back then?
They also die innocently, I guess. I guess
I
as
know,
long
that's
right?
as you're
not
a good person, maybe you can return. Maybe it's
Oh,
just about.
So Vivenna's gonna return when she dies. Hmm.
Maybe it's just about being a good person. So maybe anyone Nightblood can't like yeah, it
Murder.
can, has the potential of being a returned.
to be fair. I see Returned and Nightblood as like polar opposites.
Oh, I'm just saying the Nightblood's like definition of pure hearted. The fact that people get sick around him. Like I'm
Hmm.
wondering if.
Those are the people who can return. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
Can
technically.
I'm wondering if like Nightblood can get returned sick.
That's a good question. Because they can't really get sick, but I mean, either could Vivenna technically with all her. Although I think she had her breath at the time. So
I mean, even she's got her breaths at this
yeah,
point
she has her
though,
breath at this point. So yeah, I think
and
you
she
can
still
still
says she gets
feel
sick around it.
sick. Yeah, she's
I think
not
it's
like
just a
physically
queasy
getting
feeling.
sick. She just like
Yeah,
feels horrible.
yeah. I think it's just like a queasy feeling, like your stomach
Yeah.
feels weird, pretty much.
So I don't think like a returned would like throw up, but they would probably like yeah get that horrible feeling
Hmm.
if they're still a good person.
Yeah, we'll have to find out if anybody's a good any of them are good people, even if they did die courageously.
Yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, that was that was the end of that chapter. Yeah, we get to know his name was Stenimar, and yeah, he died rescuing
The Animore.
Larmar's daughter.
Yeah, his favorite niece.
Yeah,
Hmm.
very nice.
Yep.
So yeah, so she was a family member.
Yep. So, but I mean, it's nice to know, you know, like more of Lightsong's past. So.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so then we
And I was right that Larmar was somebody very close to him.
yeah, they were brothers.
I mean, I was going more the best friends route, but yeah.
Yeah, but they were brothers.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the kind of like tantrum where he says, "I'm always getting into trouble because of you," I feel like is like a very brotherly thing.
Oh yeah, but it's also true. So.
Yeah. So yeah, so then we start this next chapter, the final chapter of this episode, which is going by faster than I thought it was gonna.
Yep. We're
With
not having as many side conversations.
yeah, we're getting more like answers and less questions now that
Hmm.
it's the end of the book.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we get Ciri's point of view. Trelady states that if they can get into the city, the people will rally around the God King and they'll be safe. Ciri asks where the pawn call got lifeless, but Trelades doesn't know. Susebron is not consulted, and he has nothing to write on to say anything, which I feel bad for Susebron. And also, apparently, like I think they mentioned a couple of times here that Trelades is kind of like dismissive of him and only really talks to
Yep.
Ciri.
Hmm.
Poor guy, because I think Ciri notes that like she can like look into his eyes and he's like thinking and like has something like he has thoughts on this whole thing, but like he just can't.
He can't
he's
articulate because he
he's
has no
got no
tongue.
way. Yeah,
The man needs to learn how to like awaken his powers and
he needs to wear like a little chalkboard around his neck on like a string.
yeah, even better.
So
I
yeah,
find that would be hilarious.
that would be just a little chalkboard there with like a little piece of chalk
Yeah,
attached to it.
I feel like that would diminish his like
That is
kingly look.
yeah.
But at least he could communicate.
True.
So yeah, Trelades then tells Ciri that the God King is infertile, just like the rest of the Returned, and that he
Yep,
thinks the
because
royal
he's
line,
no different.
yeah, he thinks the royal line never descended from the first Returned. Uh,
Hmm.
Ciri finishes one of Trelades' sentences regarding them having a returned baby to be the next God King already, and accuses them of wanting to kill Susebron. Trelades
And then he
says
says no.
Charlie says they change God Kings whenever a baby returns, and that the previous God King is allowed to live for however long he wishes, as they have two sources of breath and can give away the treasure of breath without giving away their divine breath. So we know
Hmm.
that there is a way to give away all. We now know that there's a way to give away breaths other than your divine breath. Are you surprised that the God King doesn't actually have to die for the next God King to get breaths? Because you guys had a ton of theories, but as far as what Trelades is saying here, he doesn't have to die. He just can do whatever he wants
Yep.
once he gives away the specific treasure of breath to this baby.
Hmm. I mean, does make sense, and it kind of hits the whole note of I didn't believe the God King was any different than anybody else.
I think was
He
it
was infertile.
Darkness that had the theory that like giving the breath like leached it over time or something.
No, that was
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was me.
Okay.
yeah, that
And
was
then that turned into, I think, uh, as soon as like the baby's in close proximity, it's just you know gone.
Mhm.
Dead God King.
hmm. Does that mean does that mean that his father's alive?
Well, it sounds like his father did give away his breath to apparently cure that village
No,
of people
because
with
his father was a good person.
the diarrhea village or whatever disease they had.
Diarrhea village?
I don't
I
know.
know you
They
didn't
had
have to
bowel
say that.
issues. That's what we were told. They had like some sort of bowel issue disease. They were all
Yeah.
shitting themselves to death.
Oh my
So it sounds like that might have actually been the truth after all.
Yep. Guess so.
Guess he didn't feel the need to stay around for the next God King because it's not really his son. And he's like, meh,
god.
whatever. My duty's over. Um, So yeah, so then Ciri states that Trellides gives the returned gods everything except for knowledge, which Trellides is angered by. But suddenly they hear fighting in a nearby room, and Ciri tries to get information for how Susebron can give away just the treasure of breaths. But before Trellides can respond, a group of
He
lifeless
is.
burst into the room, and Bluefingers with another group of lifeless are through the other door. The priests try to attack the lifeless, but they die, including Trellides. Susebron pushes Ciri
Mhm.
behind him and backs away from Bluefingers and the lifeless, but Bluefingers says they have somewhere to go. So that information dies with Trellides, as far as we know. We
Yep.
don't know how many other
Which
people.
pisses me off, cause why the fuck are you so stupid?
Yeah. Why didn't you just tell her? God damn.
Or tell Susebron, like, you can address him even if he can't speak back.
Yeah. Like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna die. Like right before you die. That's the best part to do. The best time to do it.
Or,
Like,
like,
hey,
as you hear the
here's
fighting
how you do it.
start, you just be like, this is how you do it. Okay, time to fight.
Yeah, yeah. Like this is how you do it. I won't be making out of here. Get out of here, kind of shit. And
Yeah.
and
But no.
maybe then he could return because that's a courageous act.
And like maybe also give them like the location of the next God King if you're really, because in his mind that's the most important thing. So like here's where the baby is. Here's how you get rid of the give the breath to the baby. Go.
Yep.
Like,
Baby go boom.
I mean, that would just honestly that would just put a target on the baby's back though.
well, that's only if the blue finger hears it, because it's mostly lifeless, I think, attacking, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
is it?
but still, I mean, that still would put a target on the baby's back. Like if they're following them
I
and they
guess,
just
yeah.
came over and gave a baby like
Well, I think
breath.
the idea would be they'd get to safety, wait for things to die down, and then go find the baby. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so we then switch to Vivenna's point of view again. She's trying to get into the Court of Gods, claiming she needs to see All Mother. The guards refuse, and Nightblade tells her to go to the side.
Like
Vivenna,
Vasher does.
yeah, Vasher apparently he never uses the door; he just goes up the wall.
Yep.
So Vivenna awakens a
I thought
tapestry.
about that.
She awakens a tapestry and has it
Tapestry.
have it lift her up onto the wall. The guards quickly notice her, and Nightblade comments that Vivenna is no better at sneaking than Vasher, and Yestiel would have been disappointed.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so they've mentioned Yestiel before. Who specifically do you think Yestiel is?
Um,
I think they said Yestiel was the one who created Ichor alcohol.
I mean, he's one of
uh,
the five whatever the people. I can't remember their name.
yeah.
The name of it. Yeah.
Five
I
scholars.
figured as much, but
Yeah.
I was thinking, are we supposed to have a bigger idea of who he was? Or
I was just wondering if you had like any just random thoughts about him.
Thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys are right about the five scholars thing, that would be then technically, I guess his name would have been Khalid or Strife Lover or whatever. Vara Trellides, Sashara, Arsteel, and Yestiel
Mm-hmm.
is their kind of
hmm,
group, which is five,
Mm-hmm.
if you guys are correct.
Yeah. Khaled
Uh,
the Usurper.
yeah, I wonder what name he was going by at that point. If he was going by Vasher or Strife Lover or Khalid
text.
or Tax.
Khaled. Yeah, tax. That's what he's going by. Totally. He created the taxmen, so.
So Vivenna then has the tapestry lower her to the ground on the other side of the wall and runs across the lawn towards the God King's, not Guard King's, the God King's palace. Nightblood
The
tells
Guard King's Palace.
Nightblood tells Vivenna he can feel Vasher on the third floor and gives Vivenna a picture of the room. Vivenna calls,
Which is awesome.
yeah, he can just like put like pictures of rooms into people's heads apparently.
Hmm.
So Vivenna calls Nightblood an evil weapon of destruction. Nightblood responds that he's not evil, he destroys
I
evil.
agree. I agree.
No,
You're
no,
an
no,
evil.
he destroys evil. He's
Nope.
not evil.
Nope. I agree
Mm-hmm.
with her.
Good
I
distinction.
agree with her.
Guards come towards them, and Vivenna throws Nightblood at them, which I think Nightblood tries to tell her to kill them, and he's like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
guess that
Draw
works
me.
too.
Yep. Draw me. Yeah.
Vivenna then uses her awakened clothing to climb up the large blocks of the Guard King's palace. She glances down and sees the guard with Nightblood fighting other guards, black smoke swirling around him. Vivenna can still hear Nightblood distantly, and he instructs her on which window to go to. So he's just like down there being spun around. He's like, oh yeah, just that window over there. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Like he just knows where she's going. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Vasher says he can basically like see what they're seeing when
Mm-hmm.
um and so Vivenna begins climbing, her cloak stopping an arrow for her. And
Which is awesome.
were you surprised that Vivenna's awakening of the clothing worked?
No.
Yes.
Like I said, she's a prodigy. Prodigy Vivenna.
The darkness was surprised though.
That doesn't surprise me either.
I feel like I was surprised the first time I read this. I was like, oh shit, that actually worked. I was expecting her to like maybe one of them to work and the other one's not to.
That's what I'm saying. Like there should have been like some sort of fumble.
So we then switch over to Lightsong's point of view again. He notes that his wound isn't too bad and he's stopped bleeding. He glances over at the priests and notes their skin tone is slightly off, and that the men are actually from Ponkal and not Halandrin. They're just wearing priest robes in the colors of the God King. Do you think Lightsong is going to be able to do something with this information?
Uh,
He's a pretty smart guy, so maybe.
What do you think, Darkness?
you asking if Lightsong is gonna be able to?
Yeah, because so now multiple groups know. Lightsong's now just figured out the Ponkal are the ones like capturing them and killed Blushfever and stuff. What do you think? Do you think he's gonna actually be able to like escape and do anything with this information?
No, I think he's dead.
You think
Like,
he's
he's gonna
dead?
die.
Oh shit! You think he's gonna die?
Yeah, for sure.
No. That song is not gonna die. No. Can't happen.
Denial can be
I will,
very strong.
I will write. I will riot.
So we then go
I
back.
will write Sanderson a very dirty and explicit letter.
Oh my gosh.
I just read your book after so many years of you having it published, and
for like 10 years.
yeah, and I think that you should not have killed Lightsong off. He was my favorite character.
Please change that ending. Love Mystic.
Exactly. No, not love. With all disdain.
So we then go back to Ciri's point of view. Bluefingers is leading her and Susebron through the God King's palace. Ciri speaks to Bluefingers, telling him not to do this, as the Idrians are innocent. Bluefingers says he'd like to see her do differently if their positions were reversed, and that the Idrians, like the Halandrin, rolled over the Ponkal people during the Many War. Susebron suddenly starts punching Lifeless, gesturing for Ciri to flee, so obviously whatever he was thinking was the best thing to do is to get Ciri to safety, and he's going to try and fight off the Lifeless. She tries to reach for Bluefingers, but a Lifeless grabs her, and some Ponkal men wearing priest robes arrive and tell Bluefingers they've changed Lightsong's Lifeless commands. Bluefingers says to give the command to have the Lifeless march on Idris. He then tells Ciri that once the command has been given, his friends will kill themselves so that no one can stop the Lifeless army. Bluefingers
Except the God King.
Bluefingers has the Lifeless take Susebron away, and he explains to Ciri that he'll put the bodies of Blushweaver and Lightsong in the Lifeless barracks with some dead Idrians and put the God King's body in the palace dungeons. Ciri notes that it will look like the two gods sent out the Lifeless in retribution for the assassination of the God King. Bluefingers then states he needs to give
Very
the
smart. Very smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He then states that he needs to give the Idrians a reason to fight as well and not just flee, and Ciri realizes this means that she'll have to be killed. Everyone thinks she is pregnant, and both sides will see the death of the child as an act of war. So what do you think of Bluefingers' plan to get the two kingdoms to go to war?
I mean, very well thought out. So
Yeah. I think it's gonna fail though. So
I mean, you
I
hope
mean,
so.
yeah, Warbreaker. After all, they're gonna break the war.
Yeah, so at this point, who do you guys think is the Warbreaker? If there are a person who was
All
going to
of the
break the
main
war.
characters, every one
All
of
of
them.
them?
Yeah, they're all gonna band together and break the war. No, I think Vivenna is gonna break the war.
What do you think,
hmm,
Darkness?
I agree
You think it's Vivenna?
with
You guys think
the
it's
Venom
Vivenna?
part.
Vivenna and Nightblood, the two main characters.
So yeah, so since the next episode is the last, I'm only really going to be asking about theories for the end of the book for each of the different characters now, because there's not really much else to ask about at this point. So first of all, do you think Vivenna will be able to save Vasher, and what do you think the end of the book will bring for the two of them?
I think she'll save Vasher. Yes. Uh, Hopefully they'll be together. No, actually, I don't want that. Actually,
Actually,
'cause I don't.
no. You know
I don't
what I
want
think will happen?
What?
Vasher on the brink of death gives her all her breath. It gives her all his breath.
Well, he's without
that.
breath at the moment.
Yeah, right. And then she becomes Khaled. Yeah.
But you do realize that there's like other commands that he has used,
It's true.
hmm
like like the Dawn with the
I
child.
think he also says like
Yeah.
a lot of his breaths were also in his clothing, which they took away. So I guess his breath are technically still around. They're just not in him currently.
hmm
So you think he's gonna give his divine breath as well as all his other breath to Vivenna?
hmm
hmm
I see. Is that all your guys' thoughts on Vivenna and Vasher?
Pretty much. I mean, I definitely think they need to have a romance, but not like a blossom, like just a blossoming one. But it's ended short. But I love you, and then dead.
He's like, kiss me, and then
Gosh.
dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Then moving on to the next uh group of characters, do you think either Susebron or Ciri will die, or do you think they'll reunite and have a happy ending?
No happy ending. I don't believe
I
it at
I
all.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have a happy ending either at all.
Do you think one of them's gonna die then, and if so, which one?
I think they're both gonna die.
I'd rather both of them die.
You think
Yeah, I
both
think
of
they're
them are
both
gonna
gonna die.
die? Damn.
My thought is that Ciri's gonna die protecting Susebron, and then Susebron's gonna get like mad PO'd, and then he's gonna fight back, and then also gonna get killed.
Hmm. So, next then, what do you think will happen with Lightsong and Larimar?
Lightsong is going to protect Larmar and get killed.
Do you
I
think
thought you
Lightsong's
said
gonna get
Lifetime was
killed?
gonna die.
Nope. No. Lightsong is gonna get killed. He's gonna protect Larmar like his courageous title
Gonna protect his
suggests.
older brother?
hmm
And then get re-returned.
Okay, return a second
That would,
time.
that would be really cool.
Lightsong the Second, the Brave.
hmm
What do you think, Darkness? What do you think will happen with Lightsong and Larimar?
What if it's like Lightsong the bravest?
The braver.
Uh, I think they're both gonna get slaughtered.
You think they're both gonna die?
I think they're already dead, actually.
I think everybody's gonna die.
Because why would they keep him after they got the commands?
Don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna. The next chapters is gonna cut into like, oh, they walked into this room and saw
Oh,
Lightsong's dead ass body and kept walking.
Oh shit. Um. So then, do you think one of our three groups will be able to stop the Lifeless and the war from happening?
yes, I think Vivenna's gonna stop it.
Yeah.
All right. And then, did you guys just have any other thoughts or uh any
Actually,
theories for the?
I, actually, I do have a different theory. Actually,
Okay.
because I think in his like uh, what's the word grief of losing Siri, he's going to somehow stop all the lifeless because it was stated that he could
Break
technically.
the commands.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, it was stated that it would take forever, but I mean, there have been a lot of things that have been stated that aren't actually true. So
I mean, it also depends. Like, we don't know how long it would take the lifeless to get to Idris. He could just go among them and begin breaking the commands over time
Mm-hmm.
as they're marching.
Well, I mean,
Which,
that's if he doesn't die. But
yes, but I'm saying if you're right and he was to break the
mm-hmm.
commands, he could just like go with them and just start slowly like breaking the commands of them.
True. I mean, they only have the command to slaughter Idris, so.
Well, I think they changed the security phrase
Yeah, but I'm
to
saying
just
like
break.
they
Yeah, I don't think
were
they'll attack Susabran,
yeah,
probably.
unless he stands in their way.
Also, I think Basher's gonna fully unsheath Nightblood and
Mm.
just use it like
I think
that.
I think Vivenna is.
No, because then, okay, yeah, I guess could work.
Yeah, I mean
I was thinking more
the
of like
that
the
the
it'll kill
vision.
Vash.
Yeah,
It'll
the
kill Vash.
vision.
Oh,
Yeah, true. But I'm thinking more like the vision that Lightsong had with the woman and her black sword, or was that a picture actually?
oh,
That was a
you're right.
painting that he saw. He
Yeah,
saw a picture of a
that's
woman
cool.
holding a black sword. This guy's surrounded by like lifeless, an army of lifeless in like a sea of
No,
red.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So
That could be after Vasher dies. So
yeah. Or here's the other thing that I just now thought of for that picture. It could be a picture of uh, what was her name? The one that created
Shashara?
Nightblood. Yeah, it could be Shashara in the mini war. But
yeah,
Mm.
that could be true.
I'm
Cause
I'm I'm gonna go on the hope that it's Vivenna and
Mm.
it's a prophetic thing.
So if you guys
hmm,
do think someone's gonna fully draw Nightblood, whether it's Vasher or Vivenna, what do you think happens when Nightblood is fully drawn?
I think it's like a temporary boost in power and then death.
I don't
Mm.
know about the death. I don't know about the death part, but I think it's gonna be like a temporary uh boost in power, and then like kind of like you have to be uh strong willed enough to be able to get out of like the frenzied state you'd probably
Like
be in or something.
like a berserk.
Yeah, because like what we saw when he was barely unsheathing it was like he
Yeah.
was going like almost like he couldn't be uh he was taken over by his emotions. Um, so my assumption is going to be that he's kind of getting it taken over by his emotions,
Mm.
or Vivenna is, and then she's going to have to be strong-willed enough to get out of that.
Man, yeah. At least we all know that a little bit of therapy could have saved this whole book. Like everyone in it.
Yep,
Everyone
every one
needs
of them.
their.
Everybody does need therapy. When your dad sends you away because you weren't listening, everybody needs therapy.
Wait till you get
Maybe
some
the
of the
dad
other
needs
books.
therapy too.
People don't need therapy in this book as much as they need therapy in some of his other books.
Oh
They
no.
they could they can all need therapy just as much as the next one. All right, therapy is a thing that can be given to everybody.
Oh, wait till
I
you
would
guys get
pay
to
to see
Stormlight.
Nightblood be a therapist.
Wait till you guys get to Stormlight. There's some
Oh.
deep therapy needed.
All right. So darkness. We're gonna go read Stormlight right now,
No, you're
and
not reading Stormlight right now.
by the time we get there, we'll forget all about it. So
I don't think you'll be able to forget things.
you
Want to bet?
you under yeah you underestimate my power.
A little concussion never hurt anyone.
Oh my gosh. Uh, yeah, do you guys have any other theories about what's gonna happen in the end of the book? Since next time is our last episode for Warbreaker.
Do you have any theories
Sorry,
there, Darkness?
I sneezed.
God bless you.
What if everyone dies and Vivenna self-sacrifices, breaking, the lifeless, the war,
Mm.
and then just like everyone's dead?
Everyone dies.
Yeah.
Everyone's dead.
The point of view with old chaps and then him being dead is a foreshadow to the fact that every character that had a point of view dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every main character does. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, to be fair, we did also get a point of view from the dad, so that means he would die too in that theory. So that would make you guys very happy.
Would make me very happy that he was already dead. Yes.
Maybe he just needs therapy.
Yeah, they all need therapy, and the best therapy is a knife to the face.
Oh damn!
I think Nightblood would make a good therapist.
I don't.
Nightblade
I
would be
think
the
I
best
think
therapist. He'd be like,
I think
you know what you could do to get your mind off things? Destroying some
Kill.
murder
people.
people.
Destroy
murder
some
people.
evil. That'll get your
Yeah, murder
mind off
people.
things. He's like, you know what makes me feel better? Destroying evil.
Murdering people. Murdering people.
After I've been locked in a closet for like half a day and I get picked up again, you know what I want to do? Destroy some evil.
Hmm.
Uh,
That needs to be a meme. That
That
needs to be
makes
a meme.
sense
it is a meme. Nightblood
after
destroying evil
being
is
dragged
a
out of the. Oh
thing.
yeah, you did tell us.
Oh,
Yeah,
can you
there's the.
send us some of the memes, or can I look them up
Well,
myself?
no, don't look things up. I sent you that one
Wow.
picture. I'm also at the end of next episode going to read you guys again the back of Elantris and have you guys do. I'll ask some questions at the end of it about what you guys think Elantris might be like after finishing Warbreaker.
Hmm.
Some theories before we go into Elantris.
Gotcha. Sorry. My phone was already on TikTok. I was putting it on my calendar.
Because yeah, the back of
Okay.
Elantris actually gives us a little info about each of the three main characters of Elantris.
Well, there's only 3?
There's 3 instead of 4.
Oh my goodness. Wait. Dad, Ravenna,
I wasn't counting Dad or Old
Basher,
Chaps. I wasn't counting Dad or Old Chaps.
Old Chaps,
I wasn't counting them.
Nightblood,
We're not counting Nightblood. Nightblood
Nightblood,
doesn't get a point of
Light
view.
Song,
I'm saying
Light
point
Song,
of
Mab.
view
Oh wait,
characters.
Mab.
No.
I'm pretty sure we had more than 4.
Susabron.
No, there was 4 main point of view characters, not including the quick point of view at the start of the book with Dad and the quick point of view with Old Chaps. There was 4 point of view characters: Vasher, Vivenna, Ciri, and
Vasher,
Lightsong.
Vasher, Nightblood, Ciri,
Nightblood does not get his
Susabron,
own
and
point
Light
of
Song.
view.
Yes, he does.
No,
He
he
got his own point
doesn't.
of view. Yeah, he did.
No, that was Old
All,
Chaps.
all his point of view is destroy evil. That's his point of view.
He does not have. He is not considered a point of view character in Warbreaker.
He is though.
He's not. No matter how much
He's
you
a main.
like.
He's a main character in my.
He can be a main character without being a point of view character.
Exactly. So he's a main character.
So I'm
Got
saying
it.
there's 3 point of view characters in Elantris.
So main characters. There's
I'm talking
Nightblood.
about
There's
point of
Susabron.
view
There's
characters.
Ciri. Nightblood. There's Susabron. There's Old Chaps. There's
Thank you
Ravenna's
guys for
father.
listening to the podcast. We appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.